Margaret M. Dorsey, in front of 9593 Harmony Street in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Anna J. Dorsey, both ladies are my mother's sisters. Margaret was her half-sister. My grandfather's first wife died, and he remarried Unc. That's what we all called his fella. Edward T. Dorsey. Had polio when he was 3. Never walked without crutches. His upper body was powerful. William Dorsey, my mother's half-brother. Edna Dorsey is Edna Dorsey Keenan is on the right, Anna on the left. Again, my mother's sister. I believe these were taken in 1930s, probably 1936. In order to drive, he had special things on the brake and clutch. Edna Dorsey Keenan, leaving her home. The Dorseys and the Obers and the Keenans had big Thanksgivings and holidays, almost always at Harmony Street. That's John Keenan, Edna's husband. There's their daughter Ruth. That's me, cowering in the back seat. There's Ruth, my cousin, Edna's daughter. There's the setting of her, all the Thanksgivings I can remember for years. That's my father and my cousin, myself right there, my mother Agnes, my sister Ruth being fed by Agnes, and there's Aunt Margaret, Aunt Ann. My mother. Jack Keenan, my first cousin. The remains of the turkey, I guess. Aunt Marga on the right and Anna on the left. My sister Ruth. Myself, Uncle Paul on the left, my dad on the right, or in the center. All together, he was in the artillery. My father was in the sanitation, which is now called medics. Uncle Paul was a corporal. That on the left is myself, my mother, and looked like Uncle Ed on the right, and Ruth. It was very difficult to do because you started laughing all the time and it came right off. My mother is very serious about this, I think. Okay, that's Easter. There's Ruth Keenan. Some of this film broke and we couldn't get everything on the tapes. That's Ruth and my sister Ruth, the little one, and my cousin Ruth Keenan. As Jack and Ruth and my cousin, and shortly you'll see me run up the street. But see, it broke, and you notice the knickers. It's still at Harmony Street in Bridgeport. All of these are taken there. There's a friend of my Aunt Margaret's. Aunt Margaret was a teacher and a principal at Bridgeport. And it was, I think, Gussie Mendel who ended up superintendent. Uncle Ed's going out in tux. Ruth in the shadow. My sister. I don't know what function he was going to. He didn't dress that often that way. Must be the man who was going with him. These were in 95 Harmony Street. Ruth Keenan and her mother Edna Keenan, Dorsey, my dad pulling in with my sister Ruth and my two great aunts, my grandmother Dorsey's sister Agnes and Clara. And Agnes and Aunt Clara, my grandmother's sisters, my grandmother Dorsey. There's my sister Ruth. There's Mom, my cousin Jack, cousin Ruth, brother and sister. Another Easter at 9395 Army Street. Sister Ruth. Guess who? I don't know. The film jumped a bit. There's Grandma Ober, my mother. This is a picnic in the backyard. A lot of our friends, and this happened on Memorial Day mostly, and 4th of July. There's Aunt Margaret and Uncle John Keenan, my dad, Mrs. Mendel, Jack Kahn, who's my sister's godfather, Ruth Keenan, Uncle Bill Dorsey, worked on the railroad, shoveled coal and the steam engines. There's Mrs. Kahn, her name was Slavin. She was a school teacher, and that's her mother. That's the family, and it's moving too fast. And Ann's going to take a rest. Uncle Bill is mimicking her. My sister Ruth's going to ride her, I guess. We ate and rested. Uncle Bill cleaning up. That's my mother on the left. I don't know who that is on the right with my sister. Every week she washed the curtains and stretched them on that stretcher. Uncle Bill repairing on the back porch the clothesline. There's Jack Keening on the top of the roof. Uncle John Keenan on the second floor on 95. That's Aunt Edna talking about there's Spot from across the street where the Egan's lived. There's Edna. Again, my mother's sister. Ruth Keenan, who became Kovacs, Jack and I, Ruth and Lillian. I don't know where Lillian is. That's me way on the right. That's me also. Bill Fennell pulls in here somewhere, one of my best friends, and was my best man. There he is, best man at our wedding. I was going down to the shoemaker to have the soles repaired. This is Lordship. We had a cabin there, cottage, and Ann did, and I spent many a week there in the summer. The water was cold. Very rocky beach. Sister Ruth. There's Bill and I. I'm the taller one. I think we were off to school, high school. I would guess maybe 40, 41, somewhere. This looks like Lake Willoughby. Lake Willoughby is in Vermont. Mom there, and there's our grocer, Ernie Williams. Used to own a store on the corner of Harmony and Beachmont. There they are again with Mom. That's me with my back to the camera, and a fellow named Pete. He was quite a bit younger than I. There's Pete again. I'm right here showing up. Give it a little salute. I used to help the guy, Wally Hunt, there goes Ernie Williams home, and take people out for horseback rides. Sister Ruth at the cabin, the Leonard's cabin, those were. Again, Pete and I believe. These were different cabins, the ones that we stayed on in later years. It was a real rustic place. It was dirt roads in those days. That's, you can't tell it, but that's me on the horse there with taking some people. Dad rode up in the rowboat and took pictures at the north end of the lake. This cabin's on that end. The road went into Barton, Vermont. There's a good winner of a car. I think that's Mom with Ruth. That's Peter again. He used to stay in the cabin next to us with his dad and Mom and the girls. The one on the right was Pete's sister, Lois, and I had a crush on her. That's Mom, and that is me. My dad. His horse was an Arabian, and he was a little bit nuts, and no one could ride him but myself and the owner and another person. We used to use him. You can see just the horse was always wanting to go. He'd just run right into the barn and knock you right off. That's Ruth. I took her out for a ride. A very picturesque lake, Mount Pisgah and Mount Hor. I don't know whether there'll be a picture of that. They're down the lake, south part of the lake, halfway down, 2/3 of the way, as you're going south. Mom and Ruth again. There were a number of cabins there. I got older and I didn't go up to the lake when the war came, and I got a chance